This October will mark exactly 1 year since ISIL defeat in their caliphate's self-proclaimed capital, Raqqa. And months after the US coalition's victory restored or freed of torment the Syrian city is still not. These are the latest pictures from one of 3 recently discovered mass graves. These burial sites contain more than 1,000 bodies.
There are 300 to 400 bodies in this mass grave. 3 to 4 catacombs are completely full of dead bodies.
Grief and despair still has the Syrian city reeling as relatives time and time again have to identify their loved ones.
We excavated the body of only one of my sisters. The other 4 remain missing. I don't know where are they buried, as they were buried by my uncle. Now we're looking for the uncle to help find them.
The majority of the bodies are civilians, mostly women and children. Our team works 24 hours a day. Whether a civilian or a fighter, we give the body a number.
Well, this number is over 1,000 now, and that's just in the 3 recently discovered mass graves. It's a race against time, and a rigged one. The more time passes, the harder it is to identify the bodies as they rot in the ground, nameless.
Families help us identify the civilians by telling us what the person was wearing, or by describing a ring or watch or a tattoo. We identify a lot of bodies through the hair because it doesn't disintegrate.
And mass graves of Raqqa highlight not only ISIL's monstrosity, but also what rights groups call America's denial in its responsibility for the city's tragedy.
The coalition has acknowledged a mere 23 civilian deaths resulting from the more than 30,000 artillery rounds and several thousand airstrikes it launched into Raqqa city. The blustery denials are contradicted by the lived reality of the hundreds of civilians. They're even contradicted by their own partners on the ground.
Looking at these pictures, it's hard to see any real recovery from the post-war horror at all. It's even difficult to tell them apart. And just in case, these were taken only a couple of months ago, and these are back from 2017. US-led forces came, pounded the city with some 30,000 artillery rounds, proclaimed victory, and then Washington apparently chose to simply forget Raqqa.
The US coalition caused the destruction of Raqqa, and it has a responsibility to rebuild the city. We need their help with restoring the water supply and clearing the rubble.
We were directly targeted by the coalition after their reconnaissance craft filmed us. It was at a low altitude. It was very clear there were no terrorists in the area, but there were kids playing in the streets and we were collecting water.
The aircraft bomb using phosphorus. It targets everyone. It is not hidden ISIL. The coalition is bombing randomly. If you're sitting at home, a bomb may come down on you. There are houses that collapsed on their residents and they could not get out. All this happened because of the aircraft.
The city decayed, bodies decomposed. There's even no estimate on how many more mass graves are still to be found.
Thousands of people were killed during the battle to retake the city. Many were buried hastily, but also many remain in the rubble. There are at least 9 mass graves, each one estimated to have dozens to hundreds of bodies. I mean, it's pretty hard to make such estimations, but that's what we know. Local authorities are struggling to cope with the logistical challenges because there are many. It's complicated to conduct exhumations because there are landmines around there. It is clear from what we have seen on the ground that the teams that are working to exhumate bodies, they need far more training and technical assistance.
But until someone answers the pleas of Raqqa's citizens, they must live amid rubble and stench. The stench of decomposing flesh.